Hey everyone, Leanne Pilkington here for the latest edition of Courageous Conversations. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest for this week, Vinh Giang. Welcome, Vinh.
Hi, Leanne, and hi to everyone listening. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for being here. So I'm sure a lot of you are not aware of the work that Vinh does, but I stumbled across some of your videos when I was doing a presentation on perceptions. And so I've mixed the little clip that you do with the close-up magic. And you throw the tissue over. You throw the tissue over her back, and I just absolutely love that clip. And so I've been stalking you pretty much since then. And of course, then did one of your online masterclasses back in May. I decided with all of the lockdown and everything, I needed to do something for me because I was giving so much of myself to our Real Estate Institute members and my Lang & Simmons franchisees. I really wanted to do something for me. So I did one of your masterclasses, which I absolutely loved. It was, I've done a lot of that sort of stuff before, and it was really, you're very good at what you do.
And I love that you say that, because before you just told me you don't say things for the sake of saying things.
I know, absolutely. People that know me know I don't say nice things for the sake of it. It's not my style. So no, it was just awesome. And that's, and so what I would love to do is to maybe, if you just give everybody a bit of an overview of what you did do until you sort of moved back to Australia just recently, and then we can sort of go back in time.
Well, if I give you a bit of context, so For me, I've just come back from Australia. I was in the US for the last 3.5 years, and I pursued a speaking career over there. Mm-hmm. And I did a bunch of speaking, and it's a fascinating industry to navigate. And to me, I became particularly interested in it about 5 years ago. So I've been speaking as a keynote speaker now for about 5 years. And my journey is that I started as a magician. And to me, magic has two areas. There's the technical sleight of hand area, and then there's the showmanship, which is the fancy word for communication skills. So for me, I fell in love with the showmanship aspect. And as I was keynote speaking, I decided to speak about communication skills and why it's so important. So I've done that for the last 3 years in the US. And because of the whole COVID-19 situation, I wanted to escape back to Australia.
Can't blame you for that.
It's all getting a bit crazy over there. And to give you the up to the moment kind of update, I've done 3 weeks of quarantine, 2 weeks in a hotel, 1 at home, about to go crazy.
Oh my goodness. And you've got a little one as well. So that would have been an interesting experience.
Yeah, almost left him in Melbourne. Almost couldn't handle it and left him there.
So if we just go back a little bit, you were a magician.
Yes.
Living in Adelaide.
Yep, born and bred.
And you won an award. And that was
Young Entrepreneur of the Year. So we won that in 2013 for building an online platform teaching magic tricks.
Right.
So we built it up to about 50,000 users, and we were recognized with an award. And that's how I actually began the speaking journey. Right. Because after we won that award, they asked me to speak. And that's when I went, wow, I love this thing. This is actually really fun.
And were you any good at it?
No, I don't think you know this story, but the first time I spoke was for a building association in Sydney.
Right.
And I was super excited and I was super pumped. I was like, wow, this is my passion. And then I did it. I walked off stage. I felt great. Yeah. And then the CEO walks up to me and he says, have you done this before? And it just crushed my soul, and came home, told my wife, oh, I'm never speaking again. I'll stick to the magic stuff. I'm way more amazing at magic. And about a week later, he sends me a 3-page email on how I can improve.
Right.
And I couldn't believe he did this. I thought, wow, this is so nice. And I mean, I got paid and I refunded the money because I felt so awful. But that email got me back into it.
Wow.
And I think it reminded me that we don't start off great. We, quite frankly, start off pretty crap. And that's a normal part of the process. And I'd forgotten that. Yeah. Because I think one of the problems is once you get good at something, I got really good at magic, you forget the beginner's mindset.
Right.
And I forgot it because I thought, oh, well, I should be immediately good at this. And it was quite a humbling experience.
So how did you get good at it?
Oh, relentless repetition. I think one of the methods, I've taught you in the class as well, Leanne, is that you've got to watch yourself back.
Yeah.
And especially if you want to get good at communication or presentation skills, you have to watch yourself back, because when you watch yourself back, that acts as a mirror. And, you know, I've been to a lot of different offices around the world, and I find that a lot of people tend to have mirrors in their office to make sure they don't have anything in their teeth, or they make sure that, you know, the way they dress looks right. You need to have a mirror for your vocal image as well as your visual image. And I've actually had students who have gone 15 years without having a look at their vocal image, and they don't realize they have something metaphorically stuck in their teeth.
Yeah.
So to me, through the process of recording and reviewing, I was able to start to polish the way I was able to communicate. I was able to understand certain things that made me come across arrogant, certain things that made me come across insincere. And it's just that process of recording and reviewing.
And being willing to go, you know what, that sucked. And wow, I came across as a bit of a, you know-it-all or whatever it is. A lot of us don't want to actually admit that stuff.
Absolutely. And I think that the longer we go without doing it, the harder it is to do it. And this is why everybody hates watching a video of themselves back, or that they hate listening to themselves on audio. Yeah. However, it's just, again, one of the most important things as we try to improve ourselves as communicators.
Well, because that's the way you look and that's the way you sound. You know, whether you like it or you don't, it is what it is, right?
And this is probably quite sickening for the listeners and the viewers, but when I watch my videos back, I actually quite like it now. It's disgusting. I know, I'm a monster. It's disgusting. But I think it's important for us to like the way that we sound. It's important for us to like the way that we look.
Yeah.
So it's a part of, and I went through that process for years, Leanne. I mean, I really wanted this career.
Yeah.
So I did about 6 months of vocal training, not to become a singer. I also did about 2 to 3 years of theatre. I did improv to learn how to become more free with my body language. And I didn't do that because I wanted to become an actor or a comedian, but rather I did it to learn what makes a great communicator.
Well, you did encourage everybody in our class to do improv, and I finished our class on the Saturday, and I started my improv. There's news for everybody. I started my improv on the Wednesday night, and it was absolutely bloody hilarious, can I tell you? It was so funny. It's the most fun
we have as adults.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's important to talk just quickly why I kind of promote improv so much too, is that improv is a place for us to play.
Yeah.
And when you start to do improv, you know, a lot of people are so afraid of going on stage and going blank and, oh, what if I forget what I'm going to say? The skill of improv gives you a sense of confidence like nothing else, because no matter what happens, you can improvise your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be no longer scared of going on stage, or you won't be scared of doing an interview, because what is you and I right now are doing conversational improv.
Yeah.
And because we've got a bit of that experience with the improv, it's so easy to go back and forward. And I think people have to realize that's actually a skill that you can learn.
Yeah, it was really it was a lot of fun. I had to become a life coach for dolphins for sessions. So that was, and of course I had my husband sitting down there. He could hear everything I was doing, and after I got off the Zoom session, he just went, "Whiffy, what on earth was that all about? Don't worry about it, Bob."
Probably did you join some kind of weird cult?
Exactly, doing dolphin impressions. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go back there.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. But you see, it's look, again, I think it's a place where you learn an incredible skill that at the core of it all, it's for confidence.
Yeah.
And it's a fun way to gain confidence, and it's a great way to expose yourself to discomfort.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, to become, again, bringing it back to communication, I think to become a great communicator, we have to increase our discomfort tolerance.
Yeah.
Because communicating, whether it's about difficult topics or communicating in front of lots of people, they're uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
So the better our tolerance, the better we're able to serve those in our community, in our company, in our business, our clients, etc. So to me, it's really important.
Yeah, the first couple of lessons, there were times when I felt like I can just press that little red leave button and jump out. And what are they going to do? No one's going to be able to find me, right? I'm at home,
That's right.
safe at home, because it was making me feel really uncomfortable. But then I realized that was actually the point. And, you know, the older you get and the more senior and the more experience you get, you don't put yourself in places of discomfort very often, right? It was valuable.
Which reminds me of that quote we were speaking about in the masterclass, and it's that by Mark Twain. He says that you worry less about what other people think of you when you realize how seldom they do.
That's so true.
We tend to have this kind of perception that everyone is looking at us, everyone's watching and waiting till we do something wrong, but everybody is more concerned about what they're doing, and the fear of judgment from others, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
I mean, other people, they barely think about you. They're thinking about themselves and what they need to do for their family and the groceries and what they're going to cook tonight. So I think we need to learn to recognize that the fear of that judgment, it's actually an illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what prompted the move to the US?
I started my career as a speaker here in 2013. Mm-hmm. And so I built a fairly solid career here. Mm-hmm. And to me, I've always looked at the US, I don't know if it was through watching movies and everything, but I just went, wow, what a great challenge it would be to try to build a really successful career in the US as a speaker. Like it would give me an opportunity, you know, I'm young, at the time it was just me and my wife. And I thought, well, my mum always said this. My mum said, look, son, we've groomed you to fly, so why don't you take these wings for a test? And she always pushed me to try something more, try something bigger, and stop kind of flying around in my comfort zone.
What a beautiful gift.
Yeah, mum's pretty cool. Yeah. Mum's pretty cool. She I think she makes my brother and I sometimes a little bit too confident, which could be bad for us. But it's great. She always tells us, you know, oh, you're capable of more. You know, there's more to you. And so I've always had that kind of nagging in the back of my head. So I thought, oh, the US. Yeah. Hear about this American dream and all these things. And then I mapped out the blueprint. I remember buying about 15 books on how to build a keynote speaking career. And I read them all within 6 months and mapped it all out. Had a plan, asked my wife, you want to do it? And she said, yes. So I was like, oh, good, let's do it. And then just as we were about to leave, found out we were pregnant.
Oh, wow. So your baby was born in the US?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Born here, absolutely. So we were like, look, let's wait till the boy's born.
Yeah.
And we literally moved when he was 2 months old.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so how did you do that? How did you find business and build your business over there?
So while my wife was pregnant, she's an incredible woman. She's like, well, why don't you fly back and forth now to the US while I'm pregnant and lay down the groundwork? Yeah. So what I did was I researched all the bureaus, the speaking bureaus. I researched all the speaking managers, and I started to do my due diligence. Yeah. And to give you a bit of insight, I realized that there was a International Association of Speaker Bureaus. Okay. So even speaker bureaus have an association. I thought, this is great. Yeah. So I looked for the past presidents of that association. Yeah. Not for the current president. Too many speakers go for their attention. Yeah. And I reached out to one, built really good rapport, really good connection, found a keynote in the US, offered to do it for free. Yeah. Then flew the past president out, flew multiple bureau agents out. Cost me a fortune because I didn't know what to do. So I thought, look, best way for me to get their attention is fly in business class and put them in a swanky hotel. Wow. And say it's all on me. And I genuinely did that. It cost me a lot of money, but I did it. They're all like, wow, you put us in a hotel and you pay for it? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it all. Just come watch me speak. And that event was...
That's confidence.
Yeah, again, mum's fault. Yeah. I've fallen on my face multiple times though, so this is just some of the winning stories. And then, all right. So we got that event in Los Angeles. Yeah. I flew 3 agents, a ex-president of an association. Mm. They came in, they watched the keynote, and I was so lucky that it was in front of 2,500 members from a company called Cornet. Mm-hmm. Crazy, but big standing ovation at the end. They were blown away. They said, all right, let's fly you into the bureaus. Let's meet the bureaus. Yeah. Let's get you onto our books ASAP. Yeah. Wow. So then, that year I flew back and forth to the US about 6-7 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily,
Fantastic.
my wife is a pharmacist, so I was sleeping most of the way.
That's very handy, very handy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got this great business in the US, speaking at events around the country and probably internationally too, I guess. And then COVID hits. How did you cope with that? Were you doing any online work before that happened?
No, not at all. My business was purely live events.
Yeah.
So I was doing about 80 live events a year for corporates, and then I did about 6 to 10 of my live workshops myself. So I produced my own live events. And when COVID hit, I remember it was early March, I was still doing keynotes. Yeah. And then by mid-March, my entire diary was wiped clean.
Yeah.
It wasn't 90% of the business gone, 95%. It was 100% of the business gone.
Yeah.
For the first couple of days, I was pretty cool about it. I was like, I'll be like Bruce Lee, be water, be fine. It was about the third day. I remember this specifically because I woke up genuinely with a panic attack.
Yeah.
I freaked out and I didn't know what to do. Spent the whole day just kind of really upset, moping around. I actually had a bit of a cry to my wife and, really upset of the whole situation. And then that's when I realized that when I started blaming the world and damn that person who ate that bat, when I get so upset, I'm just taking all the power away from myself.
Yeah.
And I just kind of said, well, look, if you kind of take responsibility of this and try to save the business, what would you do? And that's when I started building the virtual studio and doing classes online and had to learn everything from scratch.
Yeah.
So it was an intense period of becoming a mad scientist.
And it evolved over time too, didn't it? I know at the end of our masterclass, you sort of showed all of the tech and how it evolved over because I don't know how many you'd done before the one I did, but I think you'd only done a few.
Yeah, you were a part of the third iteration of the paid classes. Before that, I did smaller kind of trial and error classes that I feel so bad for those students who came to that one. But I basically did it out of my bedroom. I mean, I don't remember if you saw the pictures. I was literally sitting in one of my bedrooms just doing it. And then I did it in one of my other rooms, which is the gym.
Yeah.
So I was just experimenting. And again, that mindset we spoke about at the beginning is that the beginner's mindset. Yeah. You have to understand that being crap is a part of the price that you have to pay to get good. So you were. I'm going to quote you on that. Sorry?
I'm going to quote you on that.
Yeah. The price of being good is being crap. Yeah. Price of entry, you're going to pay that at the gate.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you saw was literally the paid and kind of experimenting was the 8th or 7th iteration.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it was, I was, as I said to you before, I was really impressed with how engaging you were able to make it, because I've spoken to a lot of, I've done a lot of webinars and a lot of Zoom, like everybody has, and some people are able to engage you through the camera, and other people not so much. So it's a skill.
It's what I talk about a lot to people in my industry as speakers. There's speakers who are saying, look, this is a great time to retire. I'm out. I no longer want to play this game. And then there are speakers who, like myself, are trying and experimenting. And within the group of speakers who are experimenting, what you're saying is the truth. It's reality. There's a group that is doing it well, and then there's a group that's not. And the group that's not, it's because they're trying to repurpose what they used to do live in person online.
Yeah.
Whereas I find that the group that's doing it better, they're not repurposing anything. They're recreating a new experience.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to fit a square through a triangle, we're going, okay, well, this is a triangle now. We need to create a triangle to put through it. So I think that's the mindset that sometimes lets some people down, is that I often say to my speaker friends, speaking is kind of like golf. It feels I don't play, but it feels a bit, classy and swanky. I feel like virtual is a bit more like the UFC. It's brutal. Because when I say something in the class and I think it's funny, I get no feedback.
Yeah.
So and
you just laugh at yourself, right?
You do. And I just, sometimes, and what I started realizing, I remember this as a lesson through iteration, the first iteration, was that I used to say a joke as we're all being humorous on the live masterclass. And then at the end of the humor line, I would do an apology face. Because I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't even know if this is funny. So when I watched myself back, because I watch every masterclass back, I go, why do I keep doing that face?
Yeah.
And it's because, again, you need to learn, this is a new environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually more draining.
I agree. It's much harder. It's much harder work being virtual than it is being live, because you get an energy from an audience, right? That you don't get in this environment. And I think your point about not repurposing but recreating for a new environment is a really valid one that a lot of speakers need to learn.
And I think it's relevant not only to speakers, but every industry. Yeah. I think even in real estate, for example, right? As the real estate industry is going through this, I think having that mindset of how can we recreate a new experience and something completely different, as opposed to how do we just put something in place of it for now?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think we live in a world now where I think COVID could be around for a while. I think it's going to come back. And as the world's learning how to adjust to it, like we're seeing in Victoria right now, some businesses are not going to survive this current lockdown. Yeah. So to me, I think every business needs to start to look at how do we future-proof ourselves, or how do we pandemic-proof ourselves, and it's not easy. The answer is never simple.
No, that's for sure. Now, you said to me, obviously, you've had 3 weeks in quarantine, which would be quite the challenge. And you've kind of started it's given you the time and space to reimagine what your world looks like from a business perspective. Tell me about that process and where the business is going to go from here.
A huge part of it, Leanne, was I realized that I spent the majority of my life living just to work. I'm a massive workaholic. And that's one of the dangers of doing what you love is you do too much of it that you forget, and you sometimes neglect your family and you neglect your friends and your other responsibilities in life. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge victim to that. So to me, reflecting upon that in this next chapter of my life, I really want to actually work to live. To put simply, I want to build a business around my life as opposed to building my life around the business. Yeah, and the big move home was that big first step towards that. And when I look at it, I look at Australia as a beautiful middle ground. Mm-hmm. America is incredible for career. I've never experienced opportunity like that. Mm-hmm. But the lesson I learned was the more success you want, the more you have to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I never saw the correlation between those two things. I only saw the rosy side of success. Right. Oh, the more success, the better. The more success, the better. And my old man said one thing to me that just kind of really shook me. And he said, a king that knows the limits to his desires will rule a lifetime.
Wow. Was your dad Confucius?
Yeah, I think he's
sounds a bit like
online connected to Confucius. He's very Confucius-y, which sometimes becomes extremely annoying because he's like, the actions you take are like the wind. I'm like, what? Oh, gosh. Yes, he should just grow a beard and he'll start to...
Exactly.
But when he said that to me, it made me realize that I've started to lose track of, desire and greed and the want for more, which was actually ultimately causing me a lot of pain.
Yeah, right.
The more you want, the more you kind of have to suffer to get it. Yep. So you just got to learn, what are the limits to your desires? And to me, I took a look back at my life, Leanne, and reflected with my wife. And I just realized this next chapter, I want to live more experiences where I love camping. So I want to go camping more. And I've finally become okay with, having no toilets and pooping in the ground and stuff. So that's fine.
Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Very transparent human being here. But I love being out in nature. Yeah. And I find it very healing. Yeah. So to me, I love doing that. I love doing other little things. I want to explore different passion projects that are not tied to any form of commercialization.
Yeah, nice.
I just have fun again, which I haven't done in a very long time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So to me, it's living, and then it's building out the virtual business.
Yes. Okay.
Speaking a lot less. I've dropped the speaking to, I set a max of 15 events a year, going from 80 to 15. And yeah, just let's explore this virtual world that we live in now.
And so you're going to do more of the virtual masterclass, the speaking virtual masterclass that I did?
Yes.
There's more of that. Yeah.
I think again, one of the things I've learned as well is that when you do too much of something, you no longer enjoy it.
Yep.
And I mean, but the way I learned it was I couldn't believe there was a point in my life I actually hated magic. I was like, that's impossible. Magic is one of the most fun things in the world, but I did so much of it that I loathed it.
Yeah.
Now I said to myself, okay, I don't want to hate these virtual things.
Yeah.
So I want to do maybe one a month.
Yeah.
Maybe one every 2 months.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
and so what else will you do?
I also still want to do my live events.
Yeah.
I get a lot out of doing the live events. I mean, kind of selfishly.
Yeah.
When, one of the concepts I talk about in the masterclass is breaking the mold. The idea of breaking out of our comfort zone to explore our voice and our instrument.
Yeah.
When it's live, Leanne, I can push you further.
Yes.
When it's virtual.
Yeah.
Understanding the foundations to the concepts and the philosophies, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But then I think the live events are so powerful because I can tell now, after teaching for the last 3 years, when you've got more.
Yeah, sure.
I've built that kind of sensitivity, the emotional intelligence there to go.
And you can hide more. You can hide more when it's virtual. There's no doubt about that.
That absolutely. So to me, when it's in person, I can see you, I can hear you, I can feel you. So to me, I get to push my students further.
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, between the virtuals, the 15 events a year, and
the
live classes, I think that's professionally that's
enough.
That's enough for me.
Yep.
And what you're doing here, I'm truly intrigued by this. There's this whole idea of doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So one of the studios that, you can see the mess behind me is a podcast room.
Yep.
So I'm building out a bit of a studio to explore this, to have fun.
Yeah. So podcast from Vinh in our future.
Yeah, it'll be with one of my best friends in my life, and every episode we'll be discussing a book that we really loved and adored and extracting the lessons from it and discussing it, challenging it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like a virtual book club.
Yeah, except we want to stress test some of the ideas.
Okay.
And just deep dive into it and discuss it at length.
Well, I will look forward to. Please let me know when they are up and live, and I'll share them with my network as well.
Maybe don't share the first few because remember, as you start, they're going to be crap. And share number 6.
I can't even remember what my first podcast was. I'm going to have to go back and remember who my very first guest was. Oh. That's terrible. I've done about, I don't know, you'd be close to number 50, I think.
Wow.
So I'll have to go back.
You're very fluid. It shows. It shows. You're very fluid. I've done a lot where it's a bit, so you're very fluid.
And I don't do any research either, which is probably not good. But that's when the improv comes in handy, right?
Well, this is why this is spontaneous. It's we're creating as we go. There's something way more special about that than kind of pre-planned.
Exactly.
It's way more dynamic.
So if anybody who's watching us would like to see more about the virtual masterclass or understand what you do, when we will be able to have live events again very soon. Yeah. And we have a great live event, usually in May, called ARIC, which is a real estate conference. So I'll make sure I send this through to the team at ARIC, and because you'd be an amazing speaker on that platform.
Oh, thank you.
So how does everybody find you?
Look, you can find me you can find me on social media. I'm pretty responsive there. It's Ask Vinh, so AskVinh. Or you can go to my website, which is stageworkshop.live, and you can kind of check out what I do there. And Leanne, thank you again for giving me the opportunity to have a chat with you and talk to your audience. Thank you.
Yeah, that's my absolute pleasure. Obviously, I think everybody already gets the idea that I loved the masterclass and would definitely recommend it. But any of you can just reach out and have more of a conversation with me about that if you would like to. So thank you so much, Vin. Welcome home. I'm glad you're out of quarantine and you are still married with a baby. That's awesome. And
we did have a second child. You know that, right? We left the second child.
Oh, damn. Never mind.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not that much of a monster.
Well, I will look forward to actually being able to meet you in person one day and maybe come to one of your live events.
Yeah, or if not, hopefully we'll meet you at one of the real estate events. Hopefully.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, Leanne.